So today we are talking about love and money. These two things are definitely connected, and sometimes we get into situations where we're not sure what the right thing to do or even what the right thing to want is. A lot of times I have clients or people in my community who ask me if I want a wealthy partner, does that make me a gold digger? Is it okay to want a man who provides for me financially? And just to give you my take on that immediately, the answer is no, you are not wrong for wanting financial alignment. And the real question is, what does that desire mean for you? And how do we approach it in a healthy way? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We have to talk about money when we talk about love or we talk about dating, because money is one of the top reasons that couples divorce. The Center for Marriage and Family had statistics about that a few years ago, and they talked about the 4 areas that form the foundation of compatibility. And those are sex, family, spirituality, and money. So money is important for us to talk about, and a lot of times we don't want to talk about it. Either we were brought up not to really talk about it that much, or we don't want to share the details of our finances because maybe we feel embarrassed about it or something like that, or we are just hoping that it kind of takes care of itself. It doesn't really take care of itself. It's something we actually have to talk about. So not only is it one of those foundations, one of the 4 foundations of compatibility, it's, after a divorce, it's one of the things that we can be the most sore about. There are so many stories of women who did not understand what was going on financially in their marriage, and then after the divorce had to rebuild their finances from scratch, right? And maybe sold themselves short in the divorce because they didn't know what their protections were or different things like that. There are so many stories of people who have, different women who have been sued for spousal support, by husbands, by ex-husbands, all kinds of different areas of love and dating that really go sour after a divorce or a breakup. So we want to talk about those things. And ignoring conversations about money is something that just sets us up for conflicts later. So we've got to be clear about that with ourselves, and we've got to be willing to have those conversations. Transparency and comfort when we're talking about money really just sets the foundation for having a financial partnership with somebody, because that's what we really want. We want to be partners with someone in creating the life together that we want to have. So when we're talking about mismatched finances, a lot of times if we choose to be with a partner who we're maybe on a different level than financially, like for example, let's say that you're making more money than the person that you're dating. You're a woman dating, you're making more money than, the person that you're dating. Sometimes that can have, that can create some different energetic things in the relationship that have to be addressed. If you are dating someone who feels emasculated, right, by you making more money, then obviously that's something that you need to address, because that person is maybe not for you, right? Also, there are men who deliberately seek out women who make more money than them because they want to be taken care of financially. And there are some women who feel that that's the only way that they can have a partner, is if they do all of those things, if they take the lead in that way and they're the breadwinner. And so what we really want to do is to be in a healthy place where we understand our worth and our power, and we are not waiting to be rescued, and we are taking good care of ourselves, and we are making decisions about who we invite into that space with us, right? So I should say, to address the gold digger myth, right? It always makes me laugh, because a lot of times the people who are crying gold digger, the men who are really worried about gold diggers are men who don't have any gold. So I don't know what they're worried about, but anyway, financial alignment is about mindset. It is not about how much money you have in the bank. So if you think about it, if you're addressing your issues with scarcity, if you're addressing you're building your own prosperity mindset, right? You're reading books about how to invest, you're creating a budget, you're paying down your debt, you are looking for ways to increase your income, all of these kinds of things, which most women I know are doing at every level. A lot of my clients are 7-figure CEOs, and some of my clients have a fraction of that, income. And it doesn't really make a difference because most of the women I work with just are all kind of on that same page in terms of wanting to heal and really cultivate their prosperity mindset, their financial mindset, and the prosperity that they have in their lives. So a lot of times, when someone asks about, it doesn't make me a gold digger if I want to be with a partner who has more money than me. It doesn't if you have a prosperity mindset. But we also want to think about why you have a belief that your money can only come to you through someone else. So we want to address those specific issues because we want to heal and clear out whatever it is that's making you think that the money can't come to you directly, right? Because it can. And wouldn't it be nice if it does? So we're really just talking about two people who are aligned in terms of how they think of being good stewards of their resources. Whether he has more than she does, if they're both good stewards of their resources, then that's great. If they're both wanting to be transparent, if they're both growing, if they both have a prosperity mindset, then that's fantastic. And that's the foundation of partnership. It's not based on what you have in the bank at that time. So it's taking really responsible steps to manage and grow what you have. And everybody can do that. So healthy alignment in that area means, shared values. It means compatible responsibilities, and it means a vision for what prosperity looks like for the two of you together. I've had clients before who, when we created their love list, they had a lot of things that were in the love list about the type of life they wanted to have with the partner. And it was things like investing in real estate together and almost like building an empire together. It's this idea of we're going to build this foundation, and it's going to encompass property, and we're going to have businesses, and we're going to do all of these things, right? That's fantastic. That's fantastic to have that vision. So when we do love lists, it's a huge thing that gets included. We always address money because it's one of those crucial areas of compatibility, like I said, and because of what happens when people divorce over that. The love lists help us get really clear about money. Love lists help us get really clear about everything that we want, but in particular, they help us get very clear about money. What does that mean to us? What does having a provider type of mentality or provider energy mean? And I would actually invite a lot of people to think about that for themselves. A lot of women, if you think of yourself in a relationship with a provider type of man, what does that look like to you? Financially, what does that mean? What need does that satisfy for you emotionally? Because that is what you actually want. And usually it's about safety. And usually it's also about not feeling alone in addressing all of the challenges in life. And it's about getting to rest and not be the only one who has to make everything happen. So sometimes we need to get more clear about articulating those needs, right? If we get too much into this mentality that is and of course, if you want somebody who is a financial provider, have someone who's a financial provider. That's fantastic. I think everyone should have money and love. We should all have plenty of both, and they are connected. The thing about money and love is that if you have enough financially, you can express your love in big ways to people. You can express your love by taking away drudgery from people that you love. You can express your love by taking care of emergencies for people that you love. You can express your love by helping to create amazing, beautiful memories with the people that you love. It's very difficult to take care of the people that you love, and we know this as parents, if you can't financially provide for them, right? The difference is in believing that your provision can only come through a partner. That is where it begins to be kind of an unhealthy mentality. So I want to talk a little bit about this phenomenon that I've been seeing between something that I identify as a princess type of energy and a queen type of energy. So I see a lot of things where women are really taking huge offense to a man offering a date that's not at the level that they would like, right? There was a big furor going on about the Cheesecake Factory date, I think last year, a couple of years ago, whatever it was, and people probably remember that. The thing about that situation, whether it was a real situation or a staged situation and all that stuff, we don't know. But if we take that as a real situation, was the woman, and basically the situation was that a woman is on a date with a man, he takes her to the Cheesecake Factory. As soon as she discovers that that's where he's taken her, she will not get out of the car, and it's this big deal, and she starts filming him, and she's basically just kind of bad-mouthing him while she's in the car, like, how could he take me here? I can't believe he took me to this place. I'm not getting out of the car. He needs to just take me home, kind of a thing, right? The issue with all of that is that it's okay if that's not your thing, right? What you want, you don't have to try to figure out what the right thing is to want, right? You don't have to figure out if it's right for you to want to be with someone who has more than you. You don't have to try to figure that out. What you need to understand and be really clear about is what you want. And if what you want is to be provided for financially, then you just have to match up with someone else who wants to provide financially. Rather than try to have a judgment about it, you just need two people who want the same situation, right? Two people who want complementary roles in the same situation. It doesn't matter if everyone agrees with you. It doesn't matter. But what I would invite you to think about, ladies, is whether you are doing this from a princess energy or a queen energy. And here's what I mean. Both a queen and a princess are worthy of being loved. Both a queen and a princess are worthy of being cherished and being treated really well. The difference isn't worthiness. The difference is maturity, right? So princess energy is like, take care of me because I can't take care of myself, and it will prove to everyone that I'm a princess, right? Queen energy is, I can fully provide for myself, but I love sharing my life with a partner who wants to give too, So she chooses from strength, right? And that makes her energy really powerful in love and in money. And it's a difference of maturity. She can provide for herself. So it's not an issue of, she needs somebody to do that for her, and she needs it to mean something about her worth. She already knows her worth. She already understands what her worth is, right? So it's not the same energy. But what I see a lot is like kind of a princess energy. And what needs to happen under that, right, is that if someone is telling you that this is the best that they can do for you, and it's not quite up to your standards, then I would invite you to handle it with grace. You don't have to go out with them anymore, but you don't have to be rude. Go on the date, have a lovely time, and then you know that you are not quite a match. That's okay. That's totally fine, But to be like scornful of somebody doing the best that they can to give you a good date is not very classy, right? So what would we want to do in hindsight if we were telling the story to someone else and we were describing what we did? how do we want to describe what we did? Do we want to tell that story of like, and so then I looked down my nose at him and, whatever. Do we want to tell that story, or do we want to be able to tell the story of how we behaved and know that we behaved in a way that was classy, right? And that's the kind of energy that also attracts classy treatment of us. We want to stay aligned in the energy that we want to attract to us. We want to be gracious. We want to, appreciate things, and we want to, if something is not in alignment, we want to release that with it. We want to kind of bless that and release that and let that go without having to be insulting or anything like that. Hopefully this all makes sense. And I'm not going to stick too long on this because I don't think that the majority of women that are watching this or that work with me really have this issue. But it is something that we're kind of seeing a lot. So let's talk about healing money beliefs. Let's talk about self-worth. So how do we know what our money beliefs are? One of the things is that we can know what our money beliefs are from what our life looks like, right? So our life is a 3D printout of what our beliefs are, especially what our beliefs were in the last 2 or 3 months, right? So as you're growing and you're healing and evolving and all these things, you're going to notice that your life changes, and those changes usually, they can be really fast, or they can take a couple of months to actually materialize in our lives, right? So when we look at our lives, what is it that we want to change? What is it that we see? Do we see that we are treating ourselves as worthy? Do we see that we are providing for ourselves? Do we see that we are educating ourselves about financial issues? Are we looking at our finances honestly? Do we open the bills when they come? Do we open the statements when they come? Do we create budgets for ourselves? Do we handle our finances as wise stewards of money, right? Do we look at money as a way of taking care of ourselves, right? Do we think like one of my favorite affirmations is like, I take care of my money and my money takes care of me. I just think that that's a wonderful affirmation to have. So sometimes we have to actually look at our money beliefs. We have to look at our life as a printout of our beliefs and figure out what they are. Sometimes it's really helpful to think about the messages you were given about money when you were younger. Was money used as shorthand for love? Did people in your life as you were growing up, would they rather give you money than tell you that they loved you? So now money feels like love to you. Did you never feel like you had enough money, and then you developed beliefs about what it meant to not have money, like that you were not as valued as people who had money, and did you maybe internalize some of those beliefs? A lot of times we have all of these beliefs about money and we haven't even actually looked at them, but they are manifesting in our life in really, really big ways. The great thing about the connection between money and self-love, when we're doing healing work for love, we always work on self-worth first and self-love first, and we heal beliefs about our own worthiness. And when we do that, the crazy thing is, even though we're doing that to clear the path for love, even though we're doing that for love to come into our lives, the thing I always see first is that we actually manifest a better career, a better job, a dream job, those kinds of things. When we do that work about self-care, self-love, knowing that we are worthy of love, knowing that we are worthy of being treated well, knowing that we are worthy of good, of as much good as our hearts can hold. When we do that work, we actually, even though it's the purpose of it is for love, for romantic love, what I always see with my clients first is that they manifest a better job, a better career. One of my clients manifested her dream job in Paris. Another one of my clients manifested a job that let her work from home 3 days a week, where she was making more money than she was making before, You know, it's some of my clients have manifested like gifts out of the blue from, you know, different family members who never actually give them anything. You know, in terms of like somebody like finding out that their health insurance was going to cover something. Like I think one of my clients manifested when we did that self-love, self-care, all those healing of those deeper beliefs, just the basic beliefs about what you deserve and the good that you deserve. One of my clients manifested a breakthrough where she found out her benefits would cover her son's braces. And that was like $3,000 she wasn't going to have to pay for out of pocket now. You know, sometimes it's been like a parent shows up and shows love in terms of wanting to give money and they've never given you money before, you know. So when we do all of that deep work, love and finances are deeply connected, right? And there's a lot, I mean, we can go into this for forever. There are so many super deep areas that we can dive into even more. And if you would like to do that, if there's something that you'd like me to talk about, if there's a specific issue you'd like me to address about love and money, let me know in the comments or let me know in a DM, and I'll be happy to talk about it in a live. But one of the things that we want to think about is for women who are in their 40s and have gone through a divorce and now you're coming back into the dating world. What do you need to do financially, right? Like what are the best things for you to focus on? The number one thing I would tell you to focus on is to get your finances in order. Get to a point where your money is able to take care of you better. Get your financial house in order. And you can build confidence for dating that way because you will know that you are taken care of, whether you are single or whether you are partnered. And when you're financially grounded, you are much less likely to compromise. You are much less likely to settle. You are much less likely to tolerate an imbalance. You know, you can't actually be choosing love freely if you are financially dependent on someone else. If you are financially dependent on someone else and that's your sole source of income, you have to be there, right? So you're not choosing to be there freely. And if you're not choosing to be there freely, you can't really love. It's just not possible to do that. I'm not talking about when you, when you get married, there may be different times during your marriage, different phases during your marriage where you take turns being the breadwinner based on what's going on. That's marriage. That's just what happens in a committed relationship sometimes, right? You might take turns being the breadwinner, or you might take turns contributing, right? You might take turns contributing, and it just depends. You know, that's not a big deal. That's just part of commitment. But what I'm talking about, ladies, I'm talking specifically to you, is to cherish that and cultivate that sense of independence by making sure your house is in order financially and that you always are making a choice to stay in the relationship. Because then as the relationship grows and evolves, if that growth or if that evolution or those changes are good for you, then you're able to stay there. And if they're not, then you don't have to do that, you know? So that's a really important thing. So this is what I'm going to say as far as the takeaway, what I want you to just take with you. Money and love are really deeply connected, and financial alignment is not about greed. It is about respect. It's about responsibility. It's about shared vision. And if you're ready to explore some of your patterns around this and start really calling in alignment on every level, then I would ask you to DM me and think about working together one-on-one privately on some of these beliefs. We really get into where your beliefs about money came from, where your beliefs about your worth came from, and we get into healing those things so that we can open the door for love that is aligned with you on every level. Okay. The majority of my clients are, you know, 7-figure business owners, and I have quite a few clients who are not 7-figure business owners at all. They're doing very, well for themselves, but not quite at that level financially. It's absolutely fine. Everybody is at a different stage in terms of their prosperity and their growth. So if you're in a position where you're ready to heal your relationship between money and self-worth, and you really want to open the door to the kind of love that aligns with that and that feels really safe and prosperous and lasting, then I would invite you to DM me. Mwah. See you soon.